Okay then, so you want to know about Welsh English, sometimes referred to as Wenglish. In this video, we'll take a deep dive into the accent, its vocabulary, grammar and phonetics. And to help us unravel it all, we have Welsh speaker Bill Hicks and accent coach Luke Nicholson. But in order to understand how we got here, we need to first look at the fascinating history behind Welsh English. I hope it feeds your fancy, so let's go. First of all, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Wales, here is a map. Wales was once an independent country that fought long and bloody wars with England. We can't cover all that in this video, but you need to know that in 1284, the Statute of Rhuddlan consolidated English control over Wales. Now Wales is one of the countries that form part of the United Kingdom, and since 1998 Wales has had its own parliament. You can't really talk about Welsh English without discussing the Welsh language. Now the English language isn't that old, relatively speaking. Anglo-Saxon tribes moved over to Britain from mainland Europe and Scandinavia after the Romans departed in 410 AD. The language on this island became what we call Old English, or Anglo-Saxon, from around the 6th century. That's nothing. When the Anglo-Saxons first set foot in Britain, the Celtic tribes had already been there for almost 1,000 years. Welsh is a Celtic language, and when the Anglo-Saxons arrived, the whole of Britain spoke Celtic languages. The language spoken across Britain at that time is now referred to as Common Brittonic, which later diverged into a number of Celtic languages. Gradually through invasion and/or integration, there is still debate about the causes of it, the Celtic languages got squeezed out of most of Britain to be replaced by Old English. But we still see traces of Common Brittonic in place names across the country. London is probably derived from Llandinion, which means place that floods in Celtic. The River Thames that flows through London has a Brittonic etymology. It was Tamesas, meaning dark place. The River Avon flows through Bristol. Avon, Abona, means river in Brittonic, so River Avon means river. The Celtic languages got pushed to the west, and the ones that survived include Cornish, which finally became extinct in the 18th century, although there are attempts to revive it. Breton in Brittany is a Celtic language, closely related to Cornish and Welsh, and it has its roots in Celtic migrations to the region from England during the early Middle Ages. And one of the other Brittonic languages to survive the Anglo-Saxon invasions was Welsh. In Wales, Brittonic became what we refer to as Old Welsh around the 8th century AD. Old Welsh became Middle Welsh, and from about the 15th century onwards, linguists talk about Modern Welsh. So Welsh is 1,000 years older than English, and yet Welsh English is relatively new. Some say that as an accent of native English speakers, Welsh English is newer than American English. This is because until the Industrial Revolution, the first language of the vast majority of the people in Wales was Welsh. Those who knew English learnt it as a second language. This is a map of Welsh speakers in 1750. During the Industrial Revolution, a lot of Welsh people migrated to other cities in Britain to find work. In fact, speakers of Welsh have influenced the sound of other English accents, notably Brummie from Birmingham and Scouse from Liverpool. Do check out our other videos on these accents to find out more. And it wasn't until 1911 that English replaced Welsh as the majority language in Wales. Welsh continued its decline until the 1980s, but since then, efforts to revive it have been ongoing. The Welsh language is now spoken widely across Wales, especially the west and the north. In Wales, according to the 2021 census, 583,000 people in Wales spoke Welsh, out of a total population of 3.1 million. In addition, there were 110,000 speakers across the rest of Britain. By the way, just a side note here, people often assume that the only official language in Britain is English, but that's not true. Welsh is an official language, and if I want to apply for a passport, for example, I can do so in English or in Welsh. Okay, that's the history, but how is this all relevant to Welsh English today? Firstly, let's listen to some Welsh, and after that it'll become clear why Welsh English sounds the way it does. It's because of Welsh.
Licen I ti gwrdd a narbarwri. Ti di dyweddio? O, Scott!
Siwmai e, Sache?
Ydych chi'ch dau di dyweddio? Ydyn? O,
Y Senau, a Senau Porc, Gorgymynach Mawr, Stecen ar yr asgwn, syrloen a llygad ar asen, dim ffiled w gaeth allan ffiled. Fresciwia, kebabau, aligid, a sausage.
Ah, no, that's definitely sausage. Sausage, I know, is sausage.
By the way, there are several different Welsh accents spoken in Wales. All the regional differences are beyond the scope of this video, but we'll look at some features that are common to all. There are a number of words and expressions of Welsh origin used in Welsh English. The examples will be read by Bill Hicks, who is from North Wales. The first word is cwtch, and this means a hug.
When I get home, I'll give you all a big cwtch.
Bechod means what a pity or what a shame, but it can also mean how cute.
Bechod, we missed the last train to Cardiff and now I'll have to wait until morning.
Iechyd means cheers.
Thank you for this tidy dinner. Let's raise our glasses. Iechyd da.
Icha fi means something like, how disgusting.
Have we seen us to the bathroom? Ucha fi.
Dut or dutty is something or someone that is cute or sweet. For example,
She had these irresistible dutty eyes.
Bach is a term of affection and it means little one, and the closest translation in English would be something like dear.
Hello, Bach. What can I do for you?
Now we're going to look at some words and expressions that are of English origin, but either they can have different meanings in Welsh English or they are used exclusively in Wales. The first one is tidy, and in Welsh English it can mean something good, it means great, awesome, excellent, or something like that.
After the rugby match, we had a tidy night out in Swansea.
Tamping means furious or extremely angry.
She was absolutely tamping when her flight was cancelled at the last minute.
If you hear there's lovely, it means something like that's nice, that's great, very good.
He's just bought an apartment in Aberystwyth. There's lovely.
Now in a minute is an expression that means shortly, very soon.
I'll be there now in a minute, Bach.
Instead of where is, in Welsh English you might hear or where to is.
Where to is your mum?
Glad you brought it up because I've got a girlfriend who a lot of people here know, so I'd appreciate it.
where to she now then?
What?
Where to she now?
Right, either speak English or learn Welsh, because that, where to she... Do you mean where is she now?
Yeah.
Now we're going to look at some grammar differences between Standard English and Welsh English that you might hear. You have look you, which is a translation of a Welsh language tag.
I did my best, look you, but in the end it didn't work.
Sometimes Welsh English speakers will put the verb phrase at the end, and this echoes the grammar in the Welsh language.
Fed up I am. Coming on Monday she is.
Now we're going to look at the Welsh accent. Luke Nicholson will be guiding us through this section, and the accent we'll be analysing is that of Rhys Evans.
The English language has probably got the biggest, vocabulary of any other language, but Welsh has less words, so then you have to resort to metaphor to describe
see.
what
So
you've got a
you're-
word for, so that makes us innately more poetic than your good selves.
So in his accent, we can notice that unstressed syllables tend to carry more weight, which affects the rhythm. If you listen to how he says metaphor and vocabulary, the unstressed syllables of these words tend to be perhaps prolonged a bit. There's more emphasis on them compared to the way I say it in my accent.
Metaphor. Metaphor.
Something else you'll notice in the word metaphor is that there's no R sound in both my accent and in his accent. So many Welsh accents, or most nowadays, are non-rhotic. Non-rhotic means that we only pronounce an R type sound when there's a vowel sound afterwards. So in metaphor, there's no vowel after the letter R, so we don't pronounce it. But for instance, in the word red, we do, because there's a vowel afterwards. With the word vocabulary, we can hear a tapped R type sound. So rather than vocabulary, it's vocabulary, ri.
You know, vocabulary. Vocabulary.
And that tapped R sound, that r, is fairly typical of Welsh English speakers. Not all, but it's clearly present in this speaker here.
Are there other accents that have this tapped R in Britain?
Yes, and I'm sure we'll come to them on our tour. But yes, certainly you'll find them in Scotland, you'll find them in Liverpool.
Okay, well, we'll come on to that. And is there a difference? Because I think Rhys Evans I think he grew up in the north of Wales. Is there a difference between, I've heard there's a difference in north and south. I can't really make out the difference so much.
Well, a Welsh speaker
But
will
people
tell
say
you that it's different from every town, every village as you go through Wales. I'm not an expert in Welsh English, but you'll notice that there'll be some features that are more typical of some Welsh speakers than others. For instance, when you have a consonant between two vowel sounds and the first vowel is stressed, for example in the word dinner, then for some speakers, that consonant is geminated, it's longer. So in my accent, dinner has one short N sound, despite the spelling, but for some Welsh English speakers, it would be dinner, dinner, and you'll have that longer sound, which of course has echoes in the Welsh language, which has these geminate, these doubled consonants.
And I'm doing Harry Potter after this. And I'm doing Harry Potter.
When I hear a Welsh speaker, sometimes it feels they're taking a break in the middle of a word and there's a pause. So that's the explanation for it.
Yes, and we have it in other languages as well. So you'll hear those geminate consonants, those doubled ones in different forms of, different varieties of Arabic, in Italian.
In North West Wales at RAF Mona, just up the road from Llanfair Pwll Wenglish go get a Quindrobol, Llantysilio go go goch. The temperature got to 21 Celsius.
Just to remind you that this is part 4 in our series of the accents of Britain. If you enjoyed this one, then do check out the others on the playlist. That's all for now. Hwyl nawr.